Hello and welcome to today's Hindu newspaper analysis of the editorial section from the Delhi edition. Okay, the anatomy of India's Ukraine dilemma. New Delhi has taken a subtle pro-Moscow position on the question of Russian attacks. Okay, against Ukraine. What is gist and crux of this article? New Delhi's response to the Russian aggression against Ukraine appears to have been shaped by the harsh geopolitical circumstances. Okay, that it is in the middle of then its normative belief of preferences. Okay, late last week, India abstained from a United Nations Security Council resolution which called for condemning the Russian military action against Ukraine. Okay, but it bent on to note its uneasiness of the Russian action in writing a first. Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi, who spoke to Russian President Vladimir Putin as the war broke out, called for an immediate cessation of violence and has so far refused to pay lead to Ukrainian ambassador to India. Polikaz impatiently urging Mr. Modi. Russian military advances with the UNSC deadlocks friends with both United States and Western Russia and passionately urged by Ukraine. New Delhi is unequally placed to undertake some much needed meditation between the rival sides. But it has chosen to stay on the margins and do not more than the unavoidable minimum. New Delhi just want to this be over with. लेट अस कॉल इट व्हाट इज रियली अस. हम देखते हैं वास्तव में यहाँ क्या हुआ. न्यू दिल्ली हैज टेकन ए सबटल प्रो मॉस्को पोजीशन ऑन द क्वेश्चन ऑफ रशियन अटैक्स अगेंस्ट यूक्रेन. दिस प्रो रशिया tilt is not just position of the Indian government but is something somewhat surprisingly said by the much of the Indian strategic community as well. More notably, one is increasingly hearing subtle, though indirect justification of the Russian military actions from the donors of the Indian strategic community. India's Russia tilt should be seen not just a product of its time-tested friendship with Moscow but also a geopolitical necessary. The रसिया का टिल्ट क्या है? देर आर 4 पोटेंशियल क्वेश्चंस इंडिया कुड चूज फ्रॉम condemned Russian aggression, support Russian aggression, stay silent on the Russian aggression, or express displeasure short of condemning and call for diplomacy. The first option will pit India against Russia, the second will pit against US, and tells allies the third opposition will be read as pro-Russia. Pro-Russia, and the fourth option which it has taken is the least harmful and yet its position does not condemn Russian aggression and know that stands from voting on a UNSC resolution. Calling for condemning Russian aggression and withdrawal of Russian forces from Ukraine is needed a pro-Russia position. There are understandable reasons for India's subtle pro-Russia position. Let me put this way: an aggressive Russia is a problem for US and West, not for India. North Atlantic Treaty Organization, also known as NATO, expansion is Russian problem, not India's problem. India's problem is China and it needs both US, the West and the Russia to deal with the China problem. बात समझ गए? भारत को यहाँ इस आईने से देखना चाहिए. भारत को न तो प्रॉब्लम रसिया से है, न तो प्रॉब्लम अमेरिका से है. भारत को प्रॉब्लम चाइना से है. भारत को चाइना से मुद्दे को सुलझाने के लिए रूस और अमेरिका दोनों के साथ अच्छे संबंध बेहतर रखने चाहिए. ये फ्यूचर है सॉर्ट आउट करने के लिए प्रॉब्लम. लेट अस लुक एट द बिग पिक्चर फर्स्ट. जरा आइए हम एक पहले बड़ी तस्वीर को देखते हैं. देयर इज टुडे a sobering recognition in New Delhi about the weakening of the US-led global order and the rise of China as a counterpole. Geographically, located right to next to India. US withdrawal from the region and its decline as the principal system surprise complicated India's place in regional geopolitics. और जो भू राजनीतिक स्थिति एशिया की है, अफगानिस्तान से अमेरिकी सैनिकों की वापसी, और चाहे भारत का चीन के साथ सीमा विवाद या भारत का पाकिस्तान के सीमा विवाद, इन चारों मुद्दों पर काउंटर करने के लिए रसिया और अमेरिका का सहयोग भारत के लिए परम आवश्यक है. ओके, neighboring China as the rising superpower and Russia as its strategically ally challenging the US led global order time-based China has time again acted on his aggressive intentions vis-a-vis India, and when India's closest to the US than ever before in its history. Okay, history through a unique unprecedented challenge for India. और सबको पता है कि समझ लेना चाहिए कि चाइना भारत का एक पड़ोसी ज़मीनी पड़ोसी देश है, जबकि रसिया वगैरह और अमेरिका वगैरह साथ को लेकर इसको अच्छे से काउंटर किया जा सकता है. ओके, देयरफॉर हाइपिंग रसिया ऑन इट्स साइड इज क्रूशियल फॉर इंडिया. देयरफॉर हाइपिंग रसिया ऑन इट्स साइड इज क्रूशियल फॉर इंडिया मोर देन एवर. Moscow is the capital of the Russia, also known as Rus, may or may not be able to moderate Chinese antagonism, okay, towards New Delhi. But an India-Russia strategic partnership, okay, may be able to temper New Delhi's growing isolation in rather friendless region. समझ गए? आइसोलेशन में डाल देगा, एक अलग डाल देगा. सेकेंड कारण क्या है? There is an emerging dualism in contemporary Indian strategic, okay, belt among the predicament of continental space that is reeling, predicament of continental space that is reeling under, okay, immense pressure from China, Pakistan and Taliban-led Afghanistan, adding to strategic, okay, claustrophobia and emergence of a maritime space which presents an opportunity to break out of the same. Okay, herein lie the dilemma for India. New Delhi needs Moscow's assistance to manage its continental difficulties, okay, be it through the defense supplies. नई दिल्ली को मॉस्को से इस बात की आवश्यकता है, एक स्ट्रेटजिक कॉन्टिनेंटल डिफिकल्टीज को तुम्हारे भारतीय उपमहाद्वीप की समस्याओं को सुलझाने के लिए रसिया का साथ इसलिए ज़रूरी है, मॉस्को का साथ इसलिए ज़रूरी है क्योंकि हमें वो डिफेंस वाले इक्विपमेंट्स, डिफेंस वाली चीज़ें, मिसाइल वगैरह चीज़ें प्रोवाइड करता है. ओके, okay, maritime which presents an opportunity to break up out of the same. Okay, on the other hand, when it comes to the vast maritime spheres, maritime मतलब समुद्री सीमा, the Indo-Pacific to be precise, Russia is not of great consequence to India. That is where its American and Western partners come into play. India is simply not in a position to address the China's challenge in the maritime space without the active support of America and Western navies and course of Quad. भारत इस स्थिति में नहीं है कि मैरीटाइम समुद्री सीमा में या समुद्री सेना में या समुद्री नेवी में वो चाइना को अटैक कर सके. उसे यहाँ पर क्वाड जो उसके मित्र हैं, क्वाड्रिलेटरल के जो मित्र हैं, उनकी मदद चाहिए, मित्रों की मदद चाहिए. अमेरिका की मदद इसमें ज़रूरी है. दिस unavoidable dualism in the contemporary Indian strategic landscape necessitates that India balances the two sides. भारत को दोनों साइड बैलेंस रखना चाहिए, न कि किसी एक साइड में झुक जाना चाहिए इस परिप्रेक्ष्य में. But doing so without a subtle Russia tilt may not be feasible at this point of time. Okay, this point of time. That said, the war on Ukraine could have major implications for India's strategic, okay, calculus. For one, Russian action in Ukraine, okay, diminishing the concerns of the rest of the international community, including the US, will no doubt embolden China its territorial ambitions. Second, the new sanctions regime may have implications for India's defense cooperation with Moscow. Third, the longer the stand of lasts, the closer China and the Russia could become, okay, which certainly does not help India. Finally, the more severe the US-Russia rivalry becomes, less focus there should be on the Indo-Pacific and China. There is, okay, विच इज़ वेयर इंडियाज इंटरेस्ट लाई। समझ गए, जहाँ भारत के हित आते हैं। इम्पैक्ट ऑन फॉरेन पॉलिसी, भारत विदेश नीति पर क्या प्रभाव पड़ेगा? इंडियाज रिस्पॉन्सेस टू यूक्रेन, इंडियाज रिस्पॉन्सेस टू यूक्रेन एग्रेशन ऑन यूक्रेन अंडरलाइन द फैक्ट दैट इंडिया इज ऑपरेटिंग फ्रॉम ए position of geopolitical vulnerability while the Indian state does seek of a okay real politic. It reeks more of strategic weakness. Here is a country located in a hostile neighborhood trying to make the best of a terrible situation. Okay, it finds itself in this. Then means the okay, going forward, India's ability to be a swing state, major power, a leading power, stands diminished. So we must expect. Okay, major power of a leading power stand diminished. So we must expect more middle of the road behavior from New Delhi rather than the resolute positions on global strategic developments. Okay. India's position also shows the unmistakable indication that when it comes to geopolitics, New Delhi will choose interest over principles. This is nothing new. New Delhi has chosen interest over principles even in the past. For instance, India has violated the principle of non-intervention in the domestic affairs of neighbors. The difference this time may be that India is choosing interest. Okay. Interest over principles, even though the issue at hand is not directly pertinent to India. And a careful reading of India's statement and positions taken over the past few days also demonstrate a certain amount of discount of having to choose interest over principles. There is perhaps a realization in New Delhi that a dog eat dog world where rules and good behavior do not matter does not help India's in the long run either. Okay, going forward, if tensions between Russia and the West persist, balancing stream will be a key feature of India's diplomacy. India is perhaps already mastering the art, और संभवतः भारत आर्ट में, कला में माहिर है. Consider India's explanation of vote during the recent vote on Russia's aggression against Ukraine, even though New Delhi has abstained from voting on it. समझ गए, जब रसिया के आक्रमण करने पर, यूक्रेन पर वोट करने पर बारी आई तो भारत ने इससे अपने को अलग कर लिया, बोला कि हम उसमें मीटिंग में शामिल ही नहीं हुआ. ठीक है, देयर बाई साइडिंग विद मॉस्को, इसका मतलब मॉस्को के साथ है. इट मेड इट्स अनहैप्पीनेस अबाउट द रशियन एक्शन क्लियर इन द रिटन नोट, और लाजमी था यहाँ से अलग होना. समझ गए, वोट करते तो उनको रसिया नाराज, वोट न करते तो वो भी नाराज, इससे मीटिंग में शामिल ही मत होइए. फाइनली, व्हाट डज दिस मीन फॉर इंडियाज स्ट्रेटजिक ऑटोनॉमी? अंतिम रूप से निर्णायक तरीके से भारत की स्वायत्तता के लिए क्या मायने रखता है, रणनीतिक स्वायत्तता के लिए? फॉर श्योर, इंडियाज स्ट्रेटजिक ऑटोनॉमी हैज़ बीन अंडर ए लॉट ऑफ स्ट्रेस फॉर सम टाइम्स नाउ. और इस टाइम भारत की जो स्ट्रेटजिक ऑटोनॉमी है वो एक लॉट ऑफ स्टेट से गुजर रही. हाउएवर, न्यू दिल्ली इज रिस्पॉन्स टू द रिसेंट crisis, especially its explanation of vote of the UNSC indicates careful recourse to the principle of strategic autonomy. India will make caveated statement and will not be pressurized by either party. In that sense, India's indirect support to Russian position is not a product of Russian pressure, that the result of a desire to safeguard its own interest. समझ गए, इसका मतलब एक प्रेशर का परिणाम नहीं बल्कि हमारी आंतरिक इच्छा का परिणाम है. Therefore, while we may witness a steady erosion of India's strategic autonomy in the longer term, primarily as a function of the need to balance against China, as we will continue to witness instances where Indian diplomacy will take recourse to the principle of strategic autonomy. So this was the most comprehensive article regarding India's interest with Ukraine and China and also Russia. Okay, let's move to another article. A day to embody the true spirit of science. India's needs an intellectual ambience. India needs an intellectual ambience that is unfettered, which National Service Day being observed today, okay, must foster. What is crux of this article? The government is organizing a science week. Vigyan Sarvatra Pujyate as a prelude of National Science Day on February 28 that commemorates Sir C.V. Raman's discovery on light scattering. आप सी.वी. रमन को जानते हो, लाइट स्कैटरिंग के लिए जाने जाते हैं, डिस्कवरी के लिए. प्रोग्राम appears to have been designed to make youth be proud about India's scientific achievement. Using this opportunity as nationalistic mission is rather unfortunate. On the contrary, this event should be used to celebrate the true spirit of science that defies all type of intellectual, okay, curtailments, thus promoting critical thinking in our academic centers. The essence. What is essence? A prominent psychist of our times, Freeman Dyson, in his book The Scientist as Rebel, make a clear argument about why dissent in the soul of science. There is no such thing as a unique scientific vision anymore. There is an, okay, unique poetic vision. Science is a mosaic of partial and conflicting visions. But there is one common element, okay, in these visions. The common element is rebellion against the restrictions imposed by the local prevailing culture. Western or Eastern as the case may be, the vision of science is not especially Western. It is, okay, it is no Western than it is Arab or Indian or Japanese or Chinese. Arab and Indians and Japanese and Chinese, okay, had a big share in the development of modern science. And what is true of science is also true of poetry. Poetry was not invented by Westerners. India has, okay, poetry older than Homer. Okay, poetry, science are gift given to all humanity. For the Arab mathematician and astronomers, Omar Khayyam, science was a rebellion against the intellectual constraints of Islam, a rebellion which he expressed more directly in this, okay, incomparable verses. The main takeaways from Dyson are: 1. Science is universal like music, dance or poetry. There is nothing like Indian, American or Chinese science. Science was initially nurtured through exchange of ideas that moved like merchandise between, okay, distant places over the ancient trade routes. 2. Dyson considered evidence-based modern science as an intellectual rebellion or as a form of dissent against social constraints, as exemplified by the Islamic land, okay, Islamic and the European renaissance of science of the Middle Ages, or become the part of the European Renaissance at that time, or the reawakening of India's, also known as Indian Renaissance, which is started from Bengal state of India, okay, during the British time in 18th century and 19th century. Background for the dependence for struggle. Okay, Indian Renaissance became the background of the Indian struggle against the British Raj at that time in India. Then how and now, then and now, तब और अब में क्या अंतर है? For Indian scientists of those days, भारतीय वैज्ञानिकों के लिए उन दिनों में साइंस वाज ए डबल रिविलियन. उनके लिए विज्ञान एक दोहरा विद्रोह था अगेंस्ट इंग्लिश डोमिनेशन एज वेल एज द फैटलिस्टिक इथोस ऑफ हिंदुइज्म. This rebellious spirit led to a resurgence of science in India in the pre-independence days, and C.V. Raman discovery cannot be seen, okay, cannot be seen independent of the social reformism of those days. With the ideological shift toward the right in recent times, the specter of, okay, conformism that was lying low in our collective consciousness has now, okay, returned with a vengeance, and academic freedom is now under greater pressure to the official line than ever before. Okay, if science must excel, it need to be promote the spirit. Is sitting up pursue the science. What is spirit? The Indian family landscape is authoritarian and patriarchal through benevolent of the obedient in its dealings. Early on, children are resensitized to collective itself. We grow with a loss of self and learn to subsume our worth as an individual. An Indian is thus culturally turned to uphold the family integrity, religion, caste, regional identity rather than her individual strength. So when the party in power in India criticizes opposition parties for being led by dynasties, okay, what is being sidelined is the irony of the dynastic blood relation as a prop for personal advancement in a fundamental part of Indian culture ethos. Such societies, such societies with patriarchal mornings automatically generate conditions for authoritarian rules, generating an ambivalence of fear that might not be conducive for path-breaking inquiries. Rather, it intends to feed the conceit of the rural by inventing make-believe science or pseudoscience. Need for a shift. Cultural shifts are not easy to accomplish, particularly in a tradition-bound society, and scientists have a special duty to foster a free and unfettered intellectual ambivalence by the active engaging in the transformation of value both within the Indian and outside workplace. A fundamental challenge, of course, is how to strengthen the social democratic norms with the institutions representative of Indian diversity plurality. Only then will academic centers become a marketplace of ideas. National Science Day should offer forum where revealing discussions of such themes are organized, epistomizing the true spirit of science, thus unleashing its tremendous transformative power. Okay, so this article was sufficient from here relating science and its discoveries, India and the abroad. Is the BJP losing ground in Uttar Pradesh? Yes, खतरा दिख रहा है. There is significant resentment against it, but the party continued to have organizational powers. बराबर पार्टी ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल कर रही है. Okay, tackling the plastic problem in the country. The UN Environment Assembly meet could finalize a way forward for global cooperation in reducing plastic consumption. Why plastic consumption is most important? What is article so far? A report released by the United Environment Program, also known as UNEP, last year estimated the emissions of plastic waste into the aquatic ecosystem may triple by 2040 if no meaningful action is taken. Thus, the United Nations Environment Assembly meeting in February-March 2022 may finalize a way forward for global cooperation in this regard. कुल मिलाकर इसका मतलब ये है, अगर भारत को हर हाल में 2040 तक अगर भारत ने मतलब अभी अगर तत्काल में भारत ने कोई प्लास्टिक सोल्यूशन नहीं निकाला प्लास्टिक का, तो ये 2040 तक जाते जाते ट्रिपल जैसी सिचुएशन में पहुंच जाएगा, जो कि आने वाले दुनिया के फ्यूचर के लिए बहुत ही खतरनाक साबित हो सकता है. निगेटिव एक्सटर्नलिटी, या एक निगेटिव एक्सटर्नलिटी क्या है? प्लास्टिक प्रोडक्ट्स इन द फॉर्म ऑफ बैग, बोटल्स एक्सेट्रा आर कन्वीनियंट, समझ गए, बट टेक ए वेरी लॉन्ग टाइम टू डिकम्पोज. बात समझ गए? बिल्कुल ठीक है. अगर बोतल हो, बैग हो प्लास्टिक का, उसको सड़ाने में टाइम लगता है. इंक्रीजिंग ग्लोबल कंजप्शन एंड लो पार्टिसिपेशन इन रिसाइकलिंग प्रोग्राम्स हैव लेड टू मोर प्लास्टिक वेस्ट. समझ गए? रिसाइकलिंग बहुत कम है. दिस पुशेस अस टू कंसिडर ए प्लास्टिक एज ए निगेटिव एक्सटर्नलिटी. एक हमारे लिए एक निगेटिव एक्सटर्नलिटी बन गई है. वी नीड टू एनालाइज द सोशल कॉस्ट ऑफ प्लास्टिक कंजप्शन विच इज मेनली द लॉस ऑफ मराइन लाइफ. समझ गए? जो समुद्री जलीय जीवों को भी हानि की स्थिति में ले जा रही है. दिस अफेक्ट्स द लाइवलीहुड ऑफ ए मेजर चंक ऑफ पॉपुलेशन डिपेंडेंट ऑन मरीन लेवल. और ये सबसे उस पॉपुलेशन के लिए इम्पोर्टेंट या हार्मफुल बन जाएगा जो समुद्र में खाती है, रहती है। ओके, प्लास्टिक रिप्रेजेंट एज एन एग्जाम्पल ऑफ कंजप्शन एक्सटर्नलिटी विच involves many people rather than the production externality which involves more multiple forms. Okay, consumption externality is more challenging to address as it is difficult to differentiate the behavior of consumers. Imposing the cost of the harm on all consumers may not yield efficient solutions. As the number of consumers is high, the cost of controlling them is also high. Okay, a number of regions across the world have banned plastic bags. This approach promotes a sustainable environment, intergenerational equity, saves okay. Other key aspects that may be considered for global cooperation are the options of plastic or banned, the effectiveness of imposition, tax and potential problem with the both these approaches. It is difficult to identify the exact tax to be imposed, which may be depend on country specific circumstances. The environment regulation for plastics, plastics may include a command and control approach and fiscal reforms like eco taxes or subsidies. The efficiency of such regulation depends on its architecture, how well it is planned, designed and executed. It should be credible, transparent and predictable. A tax rate in particular needs to be carefully determined and should work as a deterrent. In general, the rate of a tax on plastic should be higher than the cost of compliance. Okay. Eco taxes may be imposed in the various stages of production, consumption, or disposal of plastics. Pollution due to plastic may happen during the production stage. Okay, that is the logic for imposing tax on polluting. Okay, inputs as it's the producer look for the cleaner substitutes. Pollution also occurs during the consumption stage. समझ गए? Estimating the social cost. Social cost क्या लग सकती है इसमें? Social costs should be evaluated differently in the local, regional, or global context. While health and hygiene are predominant considerations in the former case, climate change is the predominant consideration in the latter. Ideally, co-tax rates on the plastic ought to be equal to the marginal social cost arising from the negative externalities associated with the production, consumption, or disposal of goods and services. This requires evaluation of damage to environment based on scientific assessment of the adverse impact on health, environment, etc. The eco tax rate on plastics may thus be fixed commensurate to the marginal social cost so evaluated. Okay, thus comprehensive policy measures against plastics may generally involve three complementary activities: the removal of existing taxes and subsidies that have a negative environmental impact, taking into account the different type of grades of plastics, and restructuring existing taxes in an environmentally friendly manner. There are some other suggestions too, which may create also effective policy solutions to reduce the amount of plastic consumption. Those includes promoting multiple use of plastics through better waste management, educating the public on the harmful use of plastic, providing subsidy for research and development activity for substitute development, appropriate disposal mechanism and waste management, use of waste for constructive usages like roads. Let's move to directly back portions. Last portion, text and context. Canada's Digital Services Tax and USTR. What is BEPS agreement and why is the USTR accusing Canada of going against? What is this? The Office of the US Trade Response Representative, also known as USTR, has protested against Canada's decision to impose a digital service tax of 3% on large companies that sell various services in Canada. Okay, the issue of tax, the issue of taxing large MNC, also known as multinational company and बहुउद्देशीय परियोजनाएं, okay, बहुउद्देशीय कंपनियां, has always been a problem among many government. In a meeting of the OECD last year, the OECD G20 base erosion and profit shifting, also known as BEPS project, was agreed upon, wherein large MNC will have to pay tax on certain proportion of their profits to the government of the foreign country where they do business. To be particular, companies will have to allocate 25% of the residual profits as profits earned in the foreign country and pay tax. The countries also agreed to impose a minimum corporate tax rate of at least 15% of corporations with the revenue and profits have a certain threshold level. USTR has argued that Canada's digital services tax goes against the spirit of the BEPS agreement. Canada has constated that the digital services tax will not come into effect if the BEPS framework is implemented on time. Okay, what is the story so far? That is sufficient. The office of the US representative has protested against Canada's decision to impose a digital services tax, 3% on large companies that sell various services in Canada. Companies with a total annual revenue of at least $850 million and profit of at least $16 billion will be taxed by the Canadian government under the new rules. USTR has argued that new tax particularly target the large US technology business and has stated that it would look into ways available under existing bilateral other trade agreement to retaliate against Canada's actions. What is the issue? What is the issue? The question of how tax large multinational corporations, also known as MNC, that have their business spread across countries has been a bone of contention among government. Bone of contention माने होता झगड़े की जड़ क्यों बना हुआ है. Many MNC draw a large share of their revenue and profits from outside their home countries. Yet they pay most of their taxes in their home country. These include large technology companies such as Facebook, Apple and Google, which do business in developing countries like India and China but pay most taxes in the US or in the tax shelters such as Ireland. समझ गए. ज़्यादातर व्यापार चाइना और भारत में करती हैं और टैक्स ज़्यादातर अमेरिका और उसको देती हैं, आयरलैंड को. Many government have tried to tax at least a part of the profit of these MNC. और कई सरकारें कह रही हैं कि इनके प्रॉफिट का टैक्स मुझे मिलना चाहिए. Many MNC draw a large share of their revenue and profit from outside their home countries. Yet they pay most of their taxes in their home country. In a meeting of Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development in October last year, a total of 136 countries, including Canada and the United States of America, came into an agreement on how to tax large MNC. They agreed under what is known as the OECD and G20 base erosion and profit shifting, also known as BEPS project, that large MNC will have to pay tax on a certain portion of their profits to the government of the foreign country where they do business. To be particular, companies will have to allocate 25% of the residual profit, which is defined as profit exceeding 10% of revenue as profit earned in the foreign country and pay tax on these profits. Other than this, the countries also agreed to impose a minimum corporate tax rate of at least 15% of the corporation with revenue and profits above a certain threshold level. This was seen as a way to bring an end to tax competition which adversely affected the tax revenue of government. So Canada's new digital services tax basically comes at a time when government are trying to implement new ground rules on how to tax companies and share revenues. Why is the USTR unhappy about the digital services tax? USTR has argued that Canada's digital services tax goes against the spirit and the text of the BEPS agreement signed by 136 countries in October last year. It was agreed last year that the signatory countries would not impose new unilateral taxes that work against the spirit of the BEPS agreement. Countries were instead supposed to work together on the swift implementation of the BEPS rules. Canada has contested that the digital services tax will not come into effect if the BEPS framework is implemented on by the end of the 2023rd. It has also assured the United States that it is committed to cooperating with other governments to implement the BEPS framework. It should be noted that in case there is a delay in the implementation of the BEPS agreement, okay, what lie ahead? The dispute over Canada digital services tax is seen as a prelude to the various other problems that are likely to arise as the government across world try to implement the BEPS agreement. Each government would want to maximize its share of taxes and more may even disagree on the appropriate tax rate that maximizes overall revenue collection. So more disputes might be in store. Some also see Canada's decision as a sign that there may be defaults over timely implementation of BEPS framework. Okay. And exclamation from Swift. It entails what is Swift? What is Swift? Why is Russia being threatened with a ban of using its services? थोड़ा सा बस देख लेते हैं क्या है स्टोरी सो फार द US, Europe, several other Western nations are moving to exclude Russia from the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication, also known as SWIFT, an international network for banks to facilitate smooth money transaction globally. This could be the strongest economic sanctions against Russia, okay, over its military moves in Ukraine, as it will potentially cut off the country from receiving international payments. What is SWIFT? Okay, SWIFT is a messaging network used by the bank and financial institutions globally for quick and faultless exchange of information pertaining to financial transactions. The Belgium headquartered SWIFT connects more than 11,000 banking and securities organizations in over 200 countries and territories. Each participant on the platform is assigned a unique 8-digit SWIFT code or a bank identification code, also known as BIC. If a person, say in New York, with a shitty bank accounts want to send money to someone with an HSBC account in London, okay, the pay would have submit to this bank. समझ गए, आराम से पहुंच जाएगा. The London based beneficiary account number also with 8-digit SWIFT code of the latter's bank. Okay, Citibank would then send a SWIFT message to HSBC. Once they is received and approved, the money would be credited to the required अकाउंट. समझ गए. इसका मतलब है कि आप लंदन से बैठ के पैसा वहाँ भेज सकते हो अमेरिका, या अमेरिका से लंदन. स्विफ्ट इज मेरली ए प्लेटफॉर्म दैट सेंड्स मैसेज एंड डज नॉट होल्ड एनी सिक्योरिटीज और मनी. समझ गए. मैसेज देता है और कोई सिक्योरिटी वगैरह होल्ड मनी वगैरह नहीं काटता. इट प्रोवाइड्स स्टैंडर्डाइज्ड रिलेबल कम्युनिकेशन टू फैसिलिटेट द ट्रांजेक्शन. बहुत अच्छा, बेहतरीन. व्हाट हैपन्स इफ वन इज एक्सक्लूडेड फ्रॉम स्विफ्ट? If a country is excluded from the most participatory financial facility platforms, its foreign funding would take a hit, making it entirely reliant on domestic investors. This is particularly troublesome when institutional investors are constantly seeking new markets in newer territories. An alternative system would be cumbersome to build and even more difficult to integrate with an already expensive system. SWIFT, first used in 1973, went live in 1977 and 518 institutions from 22 countries, its website states. SWIFT itself had replaced the much slower than far less dynamic tails. Are any countries excluded from SWIFT? Certain Iranian banks were ousted from the system in 2018 despite resistance from several countries in Europe. This step, while regrettable, was taken in the interest of the stability and integrity of the wider global financial system and based on assessment of economic situation. SWIFT states on its website, how is the organization governed? SWIFT claims to be neutral. Its shareholders, consisting of 3,500 firms across the globe elect 25 members. Okay, 25 members. Board which is responsible for oversight and management of the company. It is regulated by G10 Central Bank of Belgium, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, Netherlands, and United States of America. Okay, United Kingdom, Switzerland, and Sweden, alongside the European central banks. It leads overseer is the National Bank of Belgium. The swift oversight forum was established in 2012. Okay, the G10 participants were joined by the Central Bank of India, Australia, Russia, South Korea, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, South Korea, the Republic of Turkey, and the People's Republic of China. In 2021, the Swift financial messaging platform had recorded an average of 42 million FIN message per day as per the data on its website. The full year figure was an 11.4% growth on a year basis. Europe, West Asia, Africa combined sent approximately 4.66 billion messages. The Americas and the United Kingdom stood as second with 4.42 billion interactions, with the Asia Pacific on third with an appropriate 1.50 billion messages. Okay, so how Facebook made itself a hostage fortuner is not sufficient. Bolt down someone new phrases. So this concludes for today's Hindu newspaper analysis. Thanks for watching.